Packing the wrong stuff can totally ruin your trip. This can be things like packing too little things, packing too many things, or even just packing the incorrect things. You really don't want to ruin your dream trip to Europe because you decided to pack things that maybe weren't in your best interest. So that's why I decided to make this, just to teach you what I've learned. The first thing on the list that you don't want to take to Europe is a super packed itinerary with zero room for error. Problem number one with having a super packed itinerary is that your trip becomes a checklist and it becomes super stressful. If you're constantly having to worry about what you're gonna do next, what's next, I don't really think that's a good thought process to have going on in your brain while you're just trying to have a good time and experience other places in this world, because it's too stressful. You're supposed to have a good time. Another obvious reason why you shouldn't have a super packed itinerary is because things can and will go wrong when you're traveling. Any number of things can go wrong. Your plane will get delayed. The trains will get delayed, which the trains do get delayed a whole bunch. It's happened to me. It's happened to people I know. So just think about that. You could also get sick at any time during your trip, or jet lag could hit you harder than you thought it would. And there's also something else that I didn't even think about until it happened to me in France, is that strikes and protests can happen pretty often, and you never really know when they're gonna happen. At least I didn't, because I don't keep up with the news, especially European news. So strikes and protests can delay trains, delay flights, and they can be pretty common. So having a super packed itinerary really just is not a good idea for all those reasons. So the second thing you really don't want to take to Europe are things like books and journals. If you're a Rick Steves fan, you're probably going to realize that he has a ton of guidebooks and stuff like that, but don't take those on your trip. He recommends you tear out the pages and take those with you, which I guess you could do that, but he also has a free app that you can take, and you can download city tours and museum tours all for free, and you can listen to them on your phone. If you're like me and you like to maybe log your trip like in a journal, just for the novelty of it, a good thing to do is to not take a physical journal because it just weighs way too much. This is probably like 2 pounds. It doesn't pack really well because it's, a book. But a really good thing that I do when I'm in Europe and I'm trying to log my trips is I'll write down at the end of the day stuff in a Google Doc, just what you would normally write in a journal. Just type it out on a Google Doc on your phone, and when you get back, you can go to like a coffee shop or whatever and go write it down in your notebook. And the benefit to that is that, one, you won't lose your notebook on your trip, and you won't have to pack a huge notebook like this on your trip that's gonna weigh you down. And a third benefit is that it's backed up to the cloud and it's free. So I really recommend taking advantage of that, and I've used it for all my trips. Another reason I like doing this is because when you come home and you write down all your stuff in your physical journal from your Google Docs, you just get to relive your travels, and it's just so nice just to think back about what you did. So the third thing you really don't want to take to Europe are heavy clothes, and for me specifically, that was things like blue jeans. Blue jeans do not pack very well at all. They are very heavy, they don't fold down really nicely. Honestly, what I recommend is just using a nice pair of either black or navy sweatpants or joggers, just that fit well and they're not too sloppy. They're gonna be really comfortable and they're gonna pack really nicely. Another part of the heavy clothes would be something like a big jacket. So if you're going up to the mountains of Switzerland, you can probably go into like a store or something and find a jacket to wear. That's what I did. I spent like 40 euros on a jacket in like Bavaria, Germany before I went up to the mountains of Switzerland, and it worked really well, and now I have a souvenir from Europe that I get to use every winter. So that's really cool. Now, moving away from the clothes that you don't want to take, here are a couple things that you don't want to take in general on your trip. So the fourth thing you really don't want to take to Europe is a spending account with an international transaction fee. A lot of banks charge like a percentage fee to purchase something in another country. I know a lot of banks, it's like 1% or 2% or something like that. And if you're spending, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 on a trip, that can add up, and it's really just so unnecessary because there's so many other banks out there that just don't have international transaction fees. I mean, I'm not really going to endorse any on this video because I just don't feel like that's my place. So just do your research and just try to go find one that really works for you. The fifth thing you really don't want to take to Europe is a large suitcase-like luggage. Traditionally, a trip like this over to Europe, you're gonna want to take something like a backpack, somewhere around 40 liters in size, or if you really don't like the backpack thing, you could theoretically take a duffel bag. One thing you don't really want to do is take one of those huge suitcases that are just super bulky and heavy. Well, one, you're probably going to have to check it on the airplane, which you don't want to do because the airline can lose it in transit. People could theoretically steal things out of your luggage, which apparently is pretty common. And when you're on the trains and in the train stations, I've seen so many people struggle to get on and off the train and struggle to get around the train station with these huge wheeled suitcases. So don't be one of those people. And a backpack or a duffel bag is so much more mobile and it's gonna make your life a whole lot easier. I also knew a guy in a Rome hostel that I stayed at, and his trip kind of got messed up because his luggage got lost on the flight over from the United States. So just think about that, because that could totally happen to you if you check a bag. And people like Rick Steves and other prominent travel people, they really recommend not checking a bag and just taking things as a carry-on. So yeah, those are the main things that I really do not recommend you take to Europe. They're gonna cause you a lot of stress, and they're probably gonna weigh you down, and they're gonna be super heavy. If there's anything else that you think you shouldn't take to Europe, just let me know. I think that would be good for me to know as well. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.